Pro wrestling has always been a dream of mine since I was a kid. Sat down with Chase Del Monte and talked about it. We kind of just agreed to see what the referee thing was about. The rest is history right there. Gets better over time. The more reps you do it, and your body will get used to all this. I started enjoying wrestling more than when I was training to be a wrestler. It felt more special to me when I got the green light to actually start to be on shows. We just keep going into bigger and better venues, trying to pack the place out. Probably one of the best days of the year. That's actually up to date the biggest crowd I ever repped in front of. Sydney Bacabella throwing a fireball at my face. My biggest mentor is Kevin Quinn. My 5th year anniversary is coming up. The Emergence pay-per-view, that opportunity I would always remember. Actually, I didn't know what was going on until the week before.
Ladies and gentlemen, hosted by Coach C, Chris Sanders, this is Best for Business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. I'm pumped for this one. Referee Brennan Paul, man, thank you so much for joining me.
No, thanks for having me, Chris. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, you've been killing it left and right, so I'm curious for you. When you talk pro wrestling, I'm curious for you. What was it about pro wrestling that made you want to get involved originally in the first place?
So pro wrestling has always been a dream of mine since I was a kid. Fun fact, my little brother actually got me into pro wrestling. He's only a
Nice.
year younger than me.
Yeah.
So he started watching it, and then I kind of just hooked on from him. He doesn't watch it as much as anymore, but
Yeah.
I just fell in love with it and have got a passion for it ever since.
Nice. So what are the steps that you take to get involved, and what is it about the New England Pro Wrestling Academy that you picked there?
So my journey there, to start off, so I actually started a couple of years before,
Okay.
back in 2015, under Brian Fury. I did a couple of weeks of training to be a wrestler, and it was just too much at that time between some work and school going on. And so I promised myself after I graduated college, I would give it another try. And then, of course, the pandemic happened. And then once it opened back up, I said to myself, let me give this another try and see what it was.
Nice. So
So,
you said originally it was wrestling. So post college, how do you transition to referee?
so actually, it was just after a couple weeks, maybe a month or so. It was just wear and tear on your body.
Mhm.
I was just in so much pain constantly, almost every day. And so I just had to make the decision, like, is this really for me? I mean, I just want to live my dream, but I don't know if I could, be in pain every day for the rest of my life
Yeah.
while living my dream. So is it like, what are your options here? So I actually sat down with Chase Del Monte and talked about it for a good, like almost half an hour. And then we kind of just agreed to see what the referee thing was about. And we were talking about that a little bit, and the rest is history right there.
Nice. Was there one moment that made you finally decide that maybe wrestling wasn't thing, or it was just the wear and tear over all the time?
Not just that, but like seeing other colleagues and peers of mine, other friends just getting injured all the time, and
Mhm.
just, all the pain just from the bumps and, you know, the
Yeah.
ropes and everything. So,
So when you look at your career, whether it's Chase, Logan, Smash Master, Scotty Slade, AG Dijak, whoever it is, what do you feel like are some of the biggest lessons that they taught you?
I mean, just so actually, what they've done, and they've Dijak and Scotty and all of them have actually are actually training at the school right now as a trainer. So just don't quit, just don't fight. Keep well, keep fighting,
Yeah.
um, but even Chase has said it gets better over time. The more reps you do it, and your body will get used to all this. So even as a referee, like during classes and training, I still do all the blow up drills and run the ropes and take some bumps with the wrestlers. Even some of the wrestlers and some of my friends have like, "Are you sure you don't want to be a wrestler?" Because even some of the trainers are like, "You look like a wrestler," and but I just fell in love with refereeing. That it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I started enjoying wrestling more than when I was training to be a wrestler. So it's kind of ironic there
Yeah.
because I never thought I would be a referee or even thought of like even be doing something like that.
Yeah,
So
I'm curious for you. What was like your first year, I guess, practicing to be a referee? Because originally, like you said, wrestling was the goal. You make this transition. How was it for you?
so it took me a year of training before I actually gone on a show and did my first match. It was just constant reps with class matches and different outcomes and situations on how we would react to it and
Mhm.
what the finishes would be and all that. So
How did the pandemic treat you? Because I remember NEPWA during COVID. I'm pretty sure you could see a Brendan Paul in the crowd sometimes.
yep. So during COVID, we actually did some studio tapings at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy for Chaotic Wrestling. So that was a chance for Chaotic to actually start to come back, and we did and recorded shows on YouTube, or actually no, at that time it was Twitch.
Twitch, yeah.
So we just recorded a bunch of matches, and each week we aired it. Um, Try to do it like they did on TV, with the wrestlers in training, the students being the crowd, acting
Yeah.
like the crowd and reacting to what's going on in the matches. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah. So when's officially your first match and what is it?
So my first match was actually in the 2021 at the end of the year. It was in December. It was Final Fight.
Okay.
That was the show where JT and Chase fought and took over Chaotic Wrestling when JT won. But
Nice.
my first match that I repped was actually a gauntlet match between Ace Romero versus some of the NEPWA students, which included at that time Matty Mears, and right now Sean Keegan and Shannon Levangie, who
Nice.
started to break out on shows. Um,
Nice.
and Shannon ended up winning that third fall because there was a distraction with Love Doug dressing up as Santa Claus.
Okay.
That's so. And little did I know, I actually got involved in the main event where the referee got knocked out, and I tried to came in for the save, and JT knocked me out. So,
Unreal. So how was that first match? You've been waiting a while for a moment like this and to finally be on a show. How'd that feel?
it was awesome, and
Nice.
especially it was in my hometown of Tewksbury.
Nice.
That just felt more special to me when I got the green light to actually start to be on shows.
Yeah. I'm curious when you look at your career. For you, what would you consider your first big opportunity in wrestling?
So my first big opportunity when I first started would have to be I repped a match on the first Cold Ferry after the pandemic. It was at UTech in Lowell, Mass, and it was probably around 350 people, 400. And so I never repped in front of a crowd like that before
Yeah.
ever. So I was in Cold Ferry's our biggest chaotic show of the year.
Mhm.
It's kind of like our WrestleMania. So I was wicked nervous because I didn't want to screw anything up. So the match that I repped was actually a tag match between Gall and Paris Van Dale versus Shannon Levangie and Armani Chaos.
Nice.
So, and then the heels, went up for the win.
Uh,
But
I,
that was special to me because that was a huge moment that I was proud of.
Nice. I'm curious for you when we talk about chaotic wrestling, from that Cold Fury that you did to the most recent one, absolute packed house. But for you, what is it like to see that transition for chaotic wrestling, selling out buildings? That Cold Fury was absolutely electric. For you personally, to be a part of it, what does that feel like?
Oh, it's the best feeling because that's our biggest show of the year. Like I said, it's kind of like our mini WrestleMania. So we all, geared towards it. We all look forward to it. And over the years, I started getting more matches, and then the main events, getting more involved. throughout the
Nice.
years and on Cold Fury. So um, we just keep going into bigger and better venues, trying to pack the place out. So it's probably one of the best days of the year. So for
Nice.
Chaos Wrestling and for New England Pro Wrestling Academy.
Yeah, I'm curious for you. How does Limitless Wrestling come to be? Do you do the dojo first or no?
So when I first started getting on shows a little bit, then started to get on Limitless Dojo, and we were doing the tapings up in Maine. So we actually did some road trips because some of us, including like Seabass and at that time Che Long, Ella Spartano, we used to take road trips up to Maine because we would perform on Let's Wrestle,
Mhm.
and I also rep for that also. And so the next day we would do some tapings at the dojo, and it was just an awesome time, just putting together matches, just sharing ideas with a lot of other people outside of NEPWA, and getting to know them. So it was kind of like the next, generation coming up a little bit, especially after the pandemic. Everything
Nice.
was starting to open up a little bit more. So that first act, that first year, I believe it was 2022. That was my real first year of roughing on shows and getting opportunities. So I try to get as much as I could. Like Chase told me, like the more reps I did, the better I would get and be. So
Yeah. When you look at your career, I'm curious, you talk about it for Limitless Wrestling to be a part of recently. I forgot what they were called, the Bissell brothers, that insane show. What was that like, the energy in that building?
Oh man, so I actually didn't know I was going to ref on that show until that day when I
Wow.
got to that venue. So in situations like that, like I don't even think about like what's going on unless like I talk to the wrestlers and what I'm doing when I'm refing, and just going over their matches and talking about them. So that's actually up to date the biggest crowd I ever repped in front of, which was about 1,300 people, maybe a little bit over that.
Yeah.
So that was crazy for me. But like I was trying to say, in situations like that, I didn't even like wrap my head around that. Like I just went out there and did what I had to do. I didn't even have time to think about and process like all these people until I actually got out there and saw it. There were so many people, but it
Yeah.
was awesome. It was a great time.
When you talk companies, I'm curious for you, how does Focus Pro happen? Has there been a favorite match or memory you have so far from them?
So Focus Pro is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's great pro wrestling at breweries. There was one specific memory I had was me and Cheeseburger. Um, that he was facing Brian Bayside, and me and him were getting involved, and we actually did a mini match in between their match,
Wow.
because I was roughing them. So um, that was kind of fun.
Nice. When we talk about your career, I'm curious for you. Rad Pro Rasslin, how does your idea get approached to you?
So this different indie promotion that Scott Goering came up with is basically based on it's a '90s theme of independent wrestling. So right now, when we started, it was 1995. And right now, it's 1996. I believe.
Nice.
Yes.
We're making it.
So um, I was actually introduced as Bud Worley as my referee name, and it's been fun ever since we started doing Rad Pro Wrestling in Amesbury, Mass. So a lot of good characters. It's family friendly,
Yeah.
and just the stories are starting to like really pop and everything. So, and we're getting more and more people each time.
Nice. Did you have any
So
insight on your name or it was just given to you?
it was just given to me.
Okay.
Scott's like, "What do you think of this name?" I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. When you talk your career in pro wrestling, TNA Emergence 2023, absolutely insane. Frankie Kazarian, Eddie Edwards, how does your opportunity come to be and how was that experience?
So actually, I didn't know what was going on until the week before.
Wow.
So Chase Del Monte messaged me saying if I was available for this date, and I said yes, of course. So keep that open. And then the week before, he ended up telling me what was actually going to happen there at the school. So it happened on a Monday, throughout the day, and some of the producers and um, of course, Frankie Kazarian, Eddie Edwards, and Lish were there, and we were going over some of the matches. They were planning out spots and everything throughout the whole school. It
Wow.
was really cool to see how professionals like them too worked. So we were there all day taping, and when it came time for the Emergence pay-per-view, they all pieced it together like a cinematic match because it was a back-to-school match that they promoted,
Mhm.
and it came out to be like a 10-minute match on pay-per-view. So that was really awesome. I did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
So
How far are you in
it
your career
was
for this one?
cool. So that I was actually a year and a half, almost 2 years in
That's insane.
when that opportunity came. So I was just ecstatic when
Yeah.
I first heard about that and Chase told me.
Yeah.
So
When you talk chaotic wrestling, is there a match or moment so far? Obviously, I bet there's a bunch, but is there any that come to mind right off the rip?
so there's so many
Yeah.
moments and matches that I could sit here and talk about all night,
Yeah.
especially with each wrestler. Um, just recently, over the summertime, talking about refereeing and taking bumps and stuff. Um, of course, when I'm taking bumps in the matches, I got super kicked, clothesline, punched, kicked a million times.
Yeah.
But um, this recent bump was probably the most wildest one I ever took, and it was Sydney Bakabala throwing a fireball at my face.
Yeah. First time ever, I assume?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like if you asked me or told me that that was going to happen to me while I was refereeing, I would tell you that you're insane.
Wow. When you look at your career, obviously you talk about originally wanted to be a wrestler, but it was the injuries and all that. You've seen your friends do to switch to referee. However, how do you get this ACL injury and what's recovery like for you?
So so as I said before, I also train with the wrestlers
Mhm.
with the blow up drills and ring stuff, and so it was just one class. It was in beginning of 2024. We were just doing our regular drills, blow up drills that one night, and I went for a slip slam, and it was basically just a jump. And once I landed, my knee just caved right in,
Wow.
and I heard a crack, and something just didn't feel right. Especially the next few days, it was just really hurting me, and it was wicked loose. So I finally got it checked out, and unfortunately, I tore my ACL, um, almost partially my meniscus as well.
Mhm.
So recovery was about 8 months. It was long. It was frustrating, especially that year. 2024 was a rough year for me personally as well, not just because of the injury, but I got laid off my full-time job as well.
Mhm.
So after 8 months of doing PT, I was doing physical therapy like 3 or 4 times a week, and I was just trying to progress and more. And of course the trainers were telling me don't rush it.
Yeah.
So the original plan was for me to come back the year after, hopefully by Cold Fury. And then as I was still progressing better and improving and recovering better, they said may perhaps the end of the year I was able to come back, which was awesome. And then it turns out they cleared me come October, and
Wow.
that's when I came back officially on Chaotic Wrestling.
Nice. So what during your recovery time, your mindset just come back to pro wrestling better than ever? What is it like during those time off?
So during that time off, you just really appreciate the small things in life, especially when you get injured like that,
Yeah.
because you can't really walk around and move that much. So, um, especially in pro wrestling, at an instance, everything can be taken away from you quickly. So, as some of the trainers tell us in at NEPWA, like it's all it takes is a fraction of a second and a fraction of an inch as well.
Yeah. I'm curious
That
when you
could
look at
change everybody's life forever.
Yeah, I'm curious when you talk about some of the trainers there. Who would you consider not only your trainers but your biggest mentors, whether that's other refs that gave you advice or anything like that?
So my biggest mentor is Kevin Quinn, of
Love it.
course. I love Quinn. He's been there for me through thick and thin. Every time I have an issue, a question, or if he can just watch over my match and give me advice and tips, he's the first person I go to.
Nice.
Um, but I also want to shout out to other referees like Tony P, Nate Speckman, Gina.
Nice.
I worked with all of them, Travis Babcock, GK, Bill Thompson, so
Love it.
Tony S as well. And I ref with LJ Childress at Chaotic Wrestling, which he's pretty good referee.
Hmm. Is
So
he
he was
training for a
training to be a
wrestler or
wrestler too.
no?
He was, and then just some personal stuff just happened, and he just so when I was injured, he kind of like just fell. The referee spot just kind of fell on his lap, and so ever since I came back, he just stuck with it. And but he was trying to be a wrestler as well.
Hmm.
So, but just some personal stuff came up, and now him, and Kevin Quinn, like are the three referees right now for Chaotic Wrestling.
What a trio. I love it.
I love it too.
So, Brandon Paul, I'm curious when you look at your career, what are like some of the biggest ref advice that you've gotten?
So some of the biggest ref advice and tips I've got, not just from other referees, but from other professional wrestlers and from wrestlers that are seen on TV. Um, some of the big ones were one, stay in shape, definitely be fit because you not only are constantly moving, going up and down from in that ring and counting, but you also represent the promotion and the company, and you always want to represent them well. Uh, Also, stay out of the way from the wrestlers. Make sure your back isn't turned at that hard cam. And for reps, one of the very first things I was taught was kind of like a horseshoe in that ring. Just stay out of the corners. Just always look around because there's constantly, especially when there's matches where there's multi-man tag matches or gauntlet matches, fatal four ways, triple threats. There's always so much things and so much people moving around.
Yeah.
Um, Being able to communicate and be there to relay messages throughout the matches for the wrestlers, especially when things go wrong, and they will go wrong half the time. People will forget what's next. Um, and also, if something does go wrong, somebody gets injured, and we always got to make sure to check on them and see where we're at throughout that match and see what we can do. Um, this one is I'm still, sometimes I still do this, but throughout when I'm getting time cues in my earpiece, just make sure you don't lean in and just make it not noticeable.
Hmm.
Sometimes I still have a hard time doing that, but I'm still working on it. And just like I said before, just accept that you will be on that short end of the stick if something does go wrong throughout that match, because you never know who in this business will have your back and who doesn't. Um, and also, Kevin Quinn has told me this also, just as especially as I'm furthering out my career as refereeing, just react and be in the moments, because that's what's going to make the audience come back and really pop and elevate throughout that match.
Nice.
And last but not least, but being consistent with the counts and pinfalls and countouts and all of that. You don't want to keep rushing the counts and all that. Be quick. You always want to be consistent with that.
I'm curious, in your career, has anything like gone wrong? You talk about not staying in the way or anything like that. Nothing yet?
Oh, there's been some before. So I think it was my first year in actually. It was one of the I'm not going to mention any names or
Yeah.
promotions, but so there were two tag teams for that came in for a popular indie promotion,
Okay.
and one of them traveled outside far, and we were going over the match in the back, and one team was going to win, which I knew they were going to win. But during that match, I accidentally made the three counts. Um, one of the other opponents, their shoulder just kicked out at 2.99. So I accidentally made the call, and I had to stick with it. And so I remember them going over when we were going over the match. What the finish was, fortunately, that the team that was supposed to win won, but that wasn't the finish, of course, and they were still going. They were still fighting in the ring after the match, and I kept telling them, like, guys, the match is over, and I felt so bad. There's no worse feeling as a referee when you screw up a match and you just feel bad for the boys because you let them down, and not only that, but let the fans down as well.
You learn from it.
But again, that was my first year in. I
Yeah.
definitely learned from it. There's been other mistakes and screw ups I did as well. Just recently on another promotion, I made a shoot DQ because I saw somebody. Yeah, I when I have to be a referee in that moment, I have to be. And
Yeah.
I knew that I shouldn't have seen a manager punch one of the wrestlers in the face. I knew what the spot was, but I happened to see it, and I had no choice but shoot made a shoot DQ on that. So
Yeah. I love it laying down the law.
I feel really bad. There's no worse feeling of just disappointing not just the wrestlers but the promoters in the back on like what happened there, what's going on there.
Yeah.
So again, we're all young, especially all these promotions and young wrestlers. We're all still learning around here, so we just have to learn from it and just only get better and improve from there.
I'm curious for you, no matter if it's chaotic wrestling or anywhere, is there one or two matches for you, ref, that stick out to you, or matches that you'd say define your career or anything like that?
Oh man, so I had to think about this
Yeah.
over the years. Actually, my fifth year anniversary is coming up. Just starting out at NEPWA,
Nice.
and the first match obviously would have to be the Emergence pay-per-view. That
Yeah.
opportunity I would always remember and would never forget that for TNA. Um, And also, speaking of TNA, actually, over the summertime, I had a tryout match, and that's also something I would never forget as well because they were in Rhode Island, and I was picked to do some extra work with them as well. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
But some other matches that I wanted to bring up was um, Brian Johnson, the Mecca versus Aaron Rourke in a strap match at Breaking
Nice.
Point. That was kind of special to me because it was just a story of between the three of us, especially with Mecca and all the referees and authorities throughout that whole year when he was champion. And so when we were talking about bumps, that was actually one of the craziest bumps I took because he actually hit me with a chair
Yeah.
to my back. So um, that was a pretty good match and something that was special to me because Aaron Rourke was, the huge baby face and that pop at the end of that match made it all worth it. So,
Nice. When you
and
look at your career, chaotic wrestling, no matter if it's chaotic, focus, pro, limitless, is there a venue that sticks out that you got to perform in?
I mean, Lowell will always be like the home for chaotic wrestling.
Mhm.
UTech was pretty awesome. Right now, where we are, we're at the Lowell, called one of the Lowell schools
The one that
that
Cole
we've been.
Fury was at?
Yeah, the one where
Mhm.
Cole Fury was at, and also the Chaotic Countdown. We're actually going to be there for Summer Chaos as
Yeah.
well, Breaking Point, and then the next few other big shows going into the next year. And so that probably has to stand out. Watertown and Tewksbury, they're our normal regular crowds there, and they're always alive and rowdy every time we go there. So and but I wanted to go back to the other matches that I
Yeah.
wanted to also point out. Mortar and Ricky, Cole Fury, I think it was 2022, 2023. It was for the New England title. That was a match I'll never forget as well. Between them two, and I even told Ricky Smokes this, I don't think there's ever been a person or wrestler that I've repped more matches than him
Wow.
in or out of chaotic wrestling.
Nice.
So, um, and also, I wanted to mention another. Oh yeah, Ricky Smokes versus Kazarian. That happened on one of the brewery shows a
Nice.
couple of years ago as well. Um, just recently, Mike Santana and Water fought at Fight Life, so that was another big opportunity for me as well.
I'm curious for you originally. Were you chaotic wrestling? Were you going to these shows as a fan?
So I remember actually Chaotic Wrestling, seeing it on a commercial back then.
Oh,
And when I was younger, I didn't know anything about like independent wrestling or indies, anything like that.
yeah.
I always just watched wrestling on TV. And so I remember going to some of my first chaotic shows and seeing Chase Del Monte there and Donovan Dijak, Carmelo Hayes, who was Christian Casanova at that time,
Yeah.
Mill City Hooligans.
Who was like Brendan Paul's guy? Like, who's your favorite?
For chaotic, oh
Yeah.
man, I don't know. I can't really answer that because I'll step on some toes for that. So,
Yeah. When you look at your career for you personally, what would you say are like some of Brendan Paul's biggest tests?
oh, my biggest test. So that's a good question. It would have to be some of these big when I get opportunities for big main event matches and championship matches, um, especially when the story is so like so much. There's so much storytelling involved in a match and what has led up to that. Um, that would have the whole test is you don't want to let the boys down.
Yeah.
So you don't want to screw up anything in the match. You always want to be there for the guys as well and have them, if they need you in that match as well, because you always need a referee throughout pro wrestling. You always need a referee in a match. You need one.
Yeah.
So the biggest test is just, when the pressure's on, especially in the big fight field and those big matches, especially those big championship matches, you don't want to let not only the boys down, but the fans down as well.
Yeah.
So that's probably the hardest part of being a referee because if you do screw up or if something does go wrong in that match, you'll always I had to accept this as well, this advice that I was giving. I'll always have to be on the short end of that stick because I was the one who, controlling the match as well.
For you, what are some of the biggest goals you have? You came back since that injury absolutely on fire. You've done pretty much every weekend you have shows. So I'm curious for you, do you have any goals? And plus, originally you wanted to be a wrestler. Do you have any aspirations of doing a match or something?
um, so I was asked about that as well. Maybe one day down the road, but
Okay.
it would have to make really good sense. A real good storytelling, good story build up there. But I just want to leave it up to the guys and girls that put their time and effort into training every week. That's for them though. I don't want to take a spot or an opportunity away from them on shows, but you never say never in pro wrestling though.
Yeah.
If that opportunity ever came up and that discussion ever came up, I would definitely consider it.
Nice.
But again, it would have to be a good build up, a good story there. So
Yeah.
you
What
just
about
never
goals?
know.
Do you have any right now?
So some of my goals, especially, I just get more out there.
Nice.
Maybe perhaps out there outside of New England.
Yeah.
One of my goals this year was to be on the Vacation Land Cup because I know that's the biggest show for Limitless. So hopefully maybe next year, because now that I'm starting to get my feet wet and have my feet through the door at Limitless, I can perhaps get more opportunities on shows, ref on more shows, and
Yeah.
hopefully down the road and see where that goes.
Nice.
But yeah, try to get out there more as much as I can, perhaps outside the New England area, and just more bigger matches and championship matches as well, because that's gonna just help me in the long run to get bigger, to get better and improve better.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait from a year from now. I'm watching Vacation Lane Cup and you'll be reffing it.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well,
That's
Brendan
something I
Paul,
would have to talk to Randy about.
I think it's gonna happen. Well, Brendan Paul, I want to thank you for joining me. I say it all the time, one of my favorite refs, but I'm curious for you. I've ended every interview the same. The day you decide it's all done, now you're just getting started, so it's not happening anytime soon. But the day you decide it's all done, what do you want Brendan Paul's legacy in pro wrestling to be?
Oh man, that's the $1 million question
Oh yeah,
there. Just just fight for your dreams. There's so many opportunities out there. There's so many helmets to wear in the pro wrestling business. Even the wrestling thing, even though it didn't work out for me, this referee opportunity came up, and like I said, it was a blessing in disguise. But I just want to be that person who people can count on and be reliable and be there. Not just, be one of the greatest or best referees out there in New England, but hopefully make, New England proud and be there for, being part of some of the big moments and matches throughout New England, not just in Chaotic Wrestling, Rad Pro, but so many other promotions as well.
Nice. Well, Brendan Paul, I say, man, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for everything. I'm so glad through wrestling I've got to meet you and call you a friend.
No, thank you. I'm glad you asked me to be on this.
Absolutely. We're going to have to do a part 2 down the line when you're accomplishing all these goals.
Yes, I'll be here.
Let's do it. Thank you, Brendan, for doing this, and thank you, everybody, for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.